Hello, fifth and sixth graders. This week for English, we're going to be studying adverbs. This would be for Unit 5, Week 5. So, adverbs, if you take a look at the word adverb, this word sounds very similar to something we've been studying recently, which is adjectives. If you remember what an adjective would be a word that describes or modifies a noun. So like we said, a green pencil, or if I said that's a big house. Those are the examples of adjectives. But adverbs, although they might seem similar, because there is a little bit of similarity between them, they definitely serve a different purpose. So let's take a look, first of all, at what exactly is an adverb. So the definition that the book mentions for an adverb is, an adverb, is going to tell us how, when, or where something happens. Okay, so these three words right here, the how, the when, and the where, these are going to be some important questions for you to remember as you're going through this particular week. And these how, when, and where is going to talk about where something happens. And the something usually is talking about the verb. That's why we call it an adverb. It's a word that describes or modifies a verb, okay? An adverb, though, it can appear in a couple different places in your sentence. It says an adverb may appear before or even sometimes after the verb that it modifies, okay? So with adjectives usually came right before the word they modified. But with adverbs, they can kind of move around a little bit, okay? Or in some cases, they can actually be found right in between your verb phrase, okay? So I know this seems like a lot. I'm going to give you a couple examples of what I'm talking about. Here's our first example. He sleepily watched the stars. Now, if I were to eliminate this underlined word here, my sentence would be, he watched the stars. But notice that this word sleepily is going to tell us how did he watch the stars. So how did he watch them? Well, he watched them sleepily. And you'll notice that this word sleepily is an adverb, and it's right before the word that it modifies. So he sleepily watched the stars. If you look at our next example here, it says, she will soon go on a journey. Okay, so my sentence really is, she will go on a journey. That's really my sentence. But this tells us, when is she going to go on the journey? The word soon helps us understand, when is she going to do it? Well, she's going to do it soon. The when isn't always going to be the day of the week. It could be today, tomorrow, yesterday. But also notice the adverb in the situation is actually between my verb phrase. Because here it says, sometimes adverbs can be found between the parts of the verb phrase. I have a future tense verb right here. She will go. Will go is my verb phrase. And so the adverb actually is found in between the verb phrase. It's right in the middle. So here, the adverb was right in front of the verb that it modifies. In this sentence here, it's actually found in between the verb phrase. Okay, so sometimes that's what makes adverbs a little tricky, is because they're not always found in the same spot every single time. Here's our next sentence. The luggage was piled everywhere. Okay, my sentence, the typical sentence is, the luggage was piled. The word everywhere is telling us where it was piled. So my verb phrase here is was piled. Where was it piled? It was piled everywhere. So here we have three questions: the how, the when, and the where. But you notice that the adverb, is found in a different spot in every single sentence. In this first sentence, the adverb was actually found before the verb. In this sentence here, the adverb was actually found in the middle of the verb phrase. And in this last sentence, it was actually found behind the verb was piled everywhere. So sometimes that's what makes adverbs a little tricky, is the fact that they can be found in a lot of different places in the sentence. Unlike adjectives are usually found right in front of the word that they modify. Another, I guess you could say, tricky thing about adverbs is they don't always only modify verbs. There are some other adverbs too, like these, for example. Adverbs such as to or quite, really, so, nearly, and almost. These adverbs right here can actually modify adjectives, or in some cases, it could actually modify other adverbs. So if you look at what exactly an adverb can do, an adverb can really modify three things. It can modify a verb, it can modify an adjective, or it could modify another adverb. Let's look at a couple examples of what I'm talking about. My sentence is, I was too early. My sentence really is, I was early. The word early is an adjective that describes who I was. So the word early is an adjective, and the word to is modifying the word early. So in this case, this adverb here is modifying an adjective. And like it says up here before, adverbs such as to, quite, really, so on and so forth, these are the ones that are going to modify adjectives or other adverbs. So this adverb does not modify the verb. This adverb actually modifies the adjective. My next sentence is, we left very quickly. The sentence really is, we left quickly. And you'll notice this word quickly is an adverb because it tells how did that person leave. How did they leave? Well, they left quickly. And the word very is modifying this adverb. So here we have an example of an adverb that is modifying another adverb. So this one was modifying an adjective. This one was modifying an adverb. She ran really fast. My sentence is really, she ran fast. The word fast is an adjective because it's basically describing, it's an adverb because it's modifying how did she run. This would be an adverb, my apologies. This word fast is telling how did she run? Well, she ran fast. So in this case, the word really is modifying fast. She didn't really ran. She was really fast. So you're noticing here, 5th and 6th graders, that adverbs, again, they can modify verbs, but there are some adverbs that could modify adjectives or other adverbs in the sentence. Our last one here is, Mark nearly missed the tree. Okay, this is an example of an adverb that now is going to modify the verb. Mark nearly missed the tree. My sentence is really, Mark missed the tree. Okay, how did he miss the tree? He nearly missed the tree. So the word nearly here is modifying the verb. So adverbs, man, they're all over the place. They can modify adjectives, which is right here. They could modify other adverbs, or they could modify verbs. So now, whenever we talk about adverbs, we can also talk about comparative adverbs. And a comparative adverbs, hopefully you remember that word comparative because we studied that, even last lesson when it talks about comparative adjectives, when we had, when you can compare two things together. Well, with comparative adverbs actually compare two actions with each other. And whenever you do that, you would typically add ER to many of the adverbs in order to make them comparative, just like we did last week. Okay, for a lot of words, we added ER to the word. With superlative adverbs are just like superlative adjectives because what they do is they compare three or more actions. Okay, and in this particular case, for the most part, we're going to add EST to many adverbs to make them superlative, okay? But I will tell you, some adverbs, like we had in the previous page, some adverbs actually end with an ly ending on them. If that's the case, where you have an adverb that ends with an ly ending, don't try to put the er or the est on the end of it. What you're going to do is you're going to put the word more or most out in front instead of putting that er or est on the word. Here's a couple of examples I want to talk about. If you have the word loud, okay, loud is an action. If I was comparing two actions together, I'd say one is louder than the other. If I was comparing three things, I'd say that noise was the loudest. Again, comparative form, add er, superlative form, add est. But when you have an adverb that is like the word carefully, and you notice that the word carefully already has that ly ending on it, whenever you go to compare two things, you are not going to say carefullier. Don't chop off this ly ending. Keep it on there. You can put the word more out in front. Say that is more carefully. Or if you're comparing three or more things, as the most carefully I've ever seen you. Okay. So it's a little bit similar to what we had last week with the comparative and superlative adjectives. So some of the rules still apply. But just like last week, there are some adverbs that do not follow the rules, like we talked about before. Like if I have the word well, if I was comparing two things, I would not say, well, this is weller than the other. I would say this is better than the other. If I was doing the superlative, I wouldn't say that is the wellest thing I've ever seen. I'd say that is the best thing. If I had the word badly, you don't have to say, well, that is more badly or most badly. You could use the word worse and worst. And then again, with the word much, you wouldn't say mucher or more much. You just say more or most. So these are kind of some of those irregular ones that we studied last week. All right, so before we finish up the lesson for today, I just wanted to put some sentences out there to see if you can identify where the adverb or the adverbs are in the sentence. So let's look at these each individually and see if you also can point out where they are. In sentence number one, I have the word patiently, the boy took the test. Now, if I look at the sentence is really the boy took the test. Is there some word in here that tells us how the boy took the test? And there is. That word is the word patiently. And so you should notice here, boys and girls, that sometimes adverbs can actually start the sentence. And usually when you see an adverb starting the sentence, usually you'll probably see some sort of comma separating it. And you also know that this is an adverb because if I were to move this word patiently a little closer to the verb, it shouldn't change the meaning of the sentence. The boy patiently took the test still has the same meaning. That's why we know it's going to be an adverb. Oh, here's the second sentence. The team eagerly waited for their game. The team waited for their game. Is there a word in here that tells us how the team waited? Yeah, they waited eagerly. Eagerly would be my adverb in this situation. Sentence number three, she asked the question politely. The sentence is really, she asked the question. Is there a word in here that tells us how she answered the question? Or she asked the question, excuse me. And there is. She asked it politely. So the word politely would be my adverb in this sentence. Number four, he quietly read a very good book. Is there a word in here that tells us how this person read? Yes. The word quietly tells us how this person read. So if you notice in the first four sentences, boys and girls, if you notice something similar between adverbs in the first four sentences, is that all four of these ended with an ly ending. If you see a word that looks like an adjective, but they put an ly ending at the end of it, like the word patient, and they put patiently, or eager, and they put eagerly, polite, and then politely, quiet, and they put an ly ending at the end of it, that's probably a huge indicator that that word is an adverb, okay? But those aren't the only type of adverbs, because if you take a look at question number 5, we ran a mile yesterday and today. We ran a mile. Now, there's no word here that tells us how we ran the mile, but is there any word or words in here that tells us when they ran the mile? Well, yeah, there's actually 2 of them. Yesterday is one, today is another one. So in this sentence, they happen to have 2 adverbs because it answers when they ran. Here's another sentence, number 6. The bucket is almost full. Well, here we have the bucket is full. The verb is, so there's not going to be a word that modifies the verb, but the word full is an adjective. Is there a word that's describing how full something is? No, it's almost full. So the word almost is an adverb, and in this case, it's modifying this adjective. Our last one, number 7. Calmly, Stacy waited for her ride. Is there a word here that tells us how Stacy waited? Yeah, calmly. So calmly would be an example of my adverb because it's modifying the verb. So there's a little bit to this lesson, boys and girls, but hopefully we aren't getting too frustrated. Keep in mind if it's modifying an adverb, it's going to answer those 3 questions: how, when, and where. And then sometimes, though, they could modify adjectives or, in some cases, other adverbs. I hope you were able to understand the lesson for today. If you have any questions, as always, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I am here to help you the best that I can. So if you want to look over this lesson again, please feel free to watch the video one more time. But I thank you for watching the video. And as it says on the screen, we will see you next time.